It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Founded by men of many nations and backgrounds.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Doom Nation, what's up? We are back after our trip. We had a fun time in Montauk, and then I got sick, so I missed a whole week of work. No COVID related, just actual, the government weakened my immune system, but I'm getting better now.
The government weakened my immune system.
As always, guys, you are listening to the Two Doom Men podcast. It is Skaggs and your captain, and we are here in the captain's quarters today. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. The subscribe button is right here, I believe, or maybe it's a little higher. Yeah,
Bottom
right over here.
corner of your screen.
And for everybody listening to us on our audio files, make sure you guys give us that 5-star rating. Leave a review. This all matters. Come over to our YouTube page. Check us out at Two Doom Men on YouTube, and give us a subscribe there as well. So you want to tell them what we're talking about today?
We got a lot of things to cover. We were right. We were regular episodes. We were out for about 2 weeks almost. We're going to talk a little bit about aliens again and the politicians' response to some of these reports. We are obviously going to have to talk about the domestic terrorism plan by the Biden administration.
The Two Doom Men are somewhere listed on there.
And we're going to talk about a very controversial news report by Revolver News regarding FBI possible infiltration of the January 6th riot.
And Biden making America a laughing stock at the G7 summit.
I know that's one of your big...
Yeah, no, I really am quite angry today.
We got one more, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's worth a mention. Our buddy Peter Daszak. He's kind of in a little hot water now.
Yes, he is.
And we'll get into that probably towards the end.
Yeah. So, first off, I kind of wanted to do something a little fun before I sit here and scream at how much I dislike and loathe Joe Biden. So, as everybody knows, Skaggs and I are big fans of the Second Amendment, the most progressive amendment there is. Does not, segregate anyone. Everyone can get a gun. Gay, straight, black, white, up, down, left, right, doesn't matter.
Is there an entity?
Yeah. As long as you have a heartbeat in America, you could get a gun.
Yes.
Which I could see why people find that a problem. But we are going to give a 21-gun salute to the 21 states that recognize constitutional carry. Constitutional carry gets signed into law, and you are allowed to conceal carry a pistol in that state without receiving any permits. I'm all for it, as long as people take some type of class making themselves a little bit aware of what they are carrying.
You want people to take some personal responsibility.
Yes. All I'm asking is for responsibilities.
Like everything else in life.
Yeah. You don't need no certificate or a year-long process like I'm going through in the state of New York to just get to keep it in my house, yet alone carry it anywhere. But so these now I don't know if we could go to one of these states and just conceal
constitutional carry. Yes, we can.
Perfect. Cool. All right, so let's go through the 21 states. We got Alaska, pretty self-explanatory. Arizona, they probably didn't, argue too much over that one. Arkansas, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Kentucky. Must have been a real hard day signing that one into Kentucky law. Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, Montana, New Hampshire, not too far from us, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Tennessee. Our little bit of time spent in Tennessee, that state loves guns. Yeah. I've never seen, I've been to Texas. Tennessee loves guns. Up next, Texas, Utah, Vermont, West Virginia, and Wyoming. So salute you guys. Keep it going, states. Let's, show them that we're not going to have our Constitution torn apart and that the Second Amendment is an important right. And, you know, we'll probably get into the domestic terrorist stuff as how they're going to eventually just attack the Second Amendment for, it's obvious.
It's only natural. You mentioned there New Hampshire. New Hampshire is actually very interesting. There's like the Liberty Project or something like that. New Hampshire's a very libertarian-minded state where they're trying to attract a lot of libertarians to go live there, run for local office so they could like change New Hampshire into more of like a libertarian place,
one state at a time,
and it's working, as you can see. You see how they're you know, it's odd, right? New England state,
yeah,
you know,
it
even
is.
Maine, them in Maine.
Well, Maine, I mean, only like I think out of the entire state of Maine, like 80% of it is like uninhabited by humans. It's just such raw, like country, like northern country, cold and harsh. That like there's so much space up there.
You
that
need a
people
gun
don't,
to cuddle with.
Yeah, like you need to protect yourself. Montana was pretty self-explanatory. You could go out in Montana and run into like wolves, mountain lions, bears, 3 different types of bears. Kind of needed out there.
Right, you're still surviving against the you know, the earth in those states.
You're not walking down Fifth Avenue buying a Rolex.
Yeah. So let's get into our first story and topic here, and we talked a little bit about the UFOs and UAP phenomenon on our 420 episode. It was a good topic. You weren't there, I know, but you're a little familiar with the situation. Yeah. It was a good topic to talk about, you know, especially when you're smoking weed.
In the history of our show, I've missed both alien episodes.
You have for some reason, yeah.
I think
maybe you're an alien. Yeah.
Maybe I'm going back at the mothership.
So back on that episode, we talked more about the phenomenon themselves and like theoretically interactions with aliens and whatnot. It was very like stoned conversation. So I want to bring up a story here though. This is from the New York Post, and the headline is UFOs could threaten U.S. security, politicians say after Capitol Hill briefing. And it goes on to say Capitol Hill lawmakers said Wednesday, this is last Wednesday, that UFOs could pose a pressing threat to America's national security as the politicians emerged from a highly classified briefing with Navy and FBI officials on the unexplained phenomenon. There is a report that's supposed to be coming out. This report's always coming out. It still hasn't come out yet on the UFO UAP phenomenons. As for the existence of extraterrestrial life, the lawmakers largely left the secrets inside the surveillance-proof room, declining to tell reporters what they learned. But some did voice concerns that UFOs, which may be espionage assets controlled by American foreign adversaries, is a possible explanation just slightly less terrifying than the vanguard of alien invasion, could pose a danger to national security. And the article goes on and on and on about what all these politicians have to say about the UFO thing. We're good.
You're right. Unleash me. So by the end of this episode, you guys are going to realize why I might just continuously go scorched earth on everything. Straight off the bat, I'm calling it bullshit, a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie. I'm sorry. If it was such a highly classified meeting in how did they describe the room? They left a surveillance-free room.
This was
or whatever.
a meeting with the Navy and FBI officials.
Okay, yeah. Well, the FBI, we're going to get to how we could really trust them later on in this episode. Bullshit. I'm calling bullshit. You were 100% correct, and you were correct in saying UFOs are going to be the next reason we need to increase the military budget. And when that gets entered into the real world, like I said, I'm going to take that camera and I want to chase you through the world as you scream that you were right. If this was such a classified meeting with the Navy and the Fabrication Bureau of Insurrections, we would not have heard about it. The New York Post would not have had a story on it. The reason there's a story on it is because they're just setting us up for exactly what you were talking about. It's such a classified, secret, hush-hush surveillance room meeting, but a few congressmen can say it's concerning. No, when you leave a classified meeting of top secret whatever, you are not to speak to anyone, especially not the New York Post. So I'm calling bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm calling it's there. This is all the seeds being planted to. We're going to have the receipt on this, people. We've had the receipt on other stuff.
they're trickling out a little information at a time,
Yeah.
maybe to make you more comfortable with the idea of UFOs. And I'm not even let's be clear here, right? I like the idea of UFOs and stuff. So I'm not even thinking that it can't be UFOs.
Right.
Maybe it is. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt
No.
here. Let's play. I'm just saying. Let's play devil's advocate here. Maybe it really is UFOs that all these videos are showing, and they're gonna come out and say, well, these aliens have higher technology than our military does, so we need to raise the budget and invest in new technology in order to counter the aliens.
Yeah.
That's one angle of what they're trying to get,
It's
trying to
perfect-
normalize us on,
Perfect
right?
little story. Yeah.
Another one is maybe it's China, it's Russia with some sort of advanced technology. I don't buy that because if this technology, these videos that we've seen, the stuff is so advanced and so non-human-like, I doubt it. I doubt that they have developed like transmedium devices that could phase through the planet and not. And there's no propulsion system on it. I don't think human beings have the capability to make that yet.
Not that I would say human beings don't have the capability to make that yet. I don't see the reason not to use it. Even if, let's give them credit and say they were true, and China has a battle cruiser, whatever you want to, because they're obviously aiming this towards, it's going to be a weapon that they could use against us. If China has so much as one, because I saw there was the Navy video of the UFO.
Yeah, there's many videos.
Where they couldn't keep up with the fighter jet couldn't keep up with it because it could literally defy time and physics and all that. The reason I'm not buying that Russia or China is doing this is because if they have so much as one successful ship that can do this, what are they waiting for?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like
they'd be able to cut these naval vessels to pieces.
Yes. My other thing with, raising, if we are going to end up raising the military budget again, because the aliens, I just watched a video where the Navy tested a 40,000-pound bomb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, show me the proof that even though this ship can, juke left and right and pass through time and space, that if by magic we don't directly hit it with a 40,000-pound bomb, that it wouldn't disintegrate. There's no proof that it wouldn't.
Yeah, so my other point is going to be that there's no proof that it would actually even damage them either. They're going to come here and say they're going to forget about China, forget about Russia. Say they're going to go here and say this is an unexplained phenomenon that could possibly be extraterrestrials observing us. And we're concerned because their technology is so much more advanced than ours. We have to raise our budget in order to counter that. What a you actually mean to tell me that you think that we could compete with that sort of technology?
Yes.
Even if we raised our budget to $1 trillion, we're all of a sudden going to somehow invent some sort of
X-wing
missile
fighters,
or bomb that can take out the ship of an advanced extraterrestrial race that could travel the length of the galaxy in order to sit. And then they've probably been, if they really are aliens, right? They've probably been doing this for a long time. Has never openly attacked us.
Yep.
Has never shown any signs of aggression. So that's number one. They're the hubris in thinking that we're even going to be able to do anything against them to something that has not, been aggressive to us whatsoever. Second of all, why are we leading with aggression towards possible aliens?
Yeah.
Right? Like I said, they have not ever attacked us if they really are aliens, which, this is the government telling us here now that it could possibly be. So this is not some crazy crackpot shit I'm making up here. So why is the first response by politicians and even, I guess you could say, humans at large to threaten or military weapons, war? Why is that the first response? How come they're not saying, well, these things are odd, we're going to spend some money, or we're going to look into how we could communicate with them and maybe open a line of dialogue and see, what is this? Why are you here? What do you want to, what exactly is your purpose? And, but no, it's military, more spending, and just
It's a transfer of wealth.
I don't believe it. As soon as you bring the government and the spending into it, it just looks like they're searching for another reason why to spend a shit ton more money to transfer wealth.
There's even, no matter how much money we throw at it, how are you going to combat technology that you don't even know
Understand.
about? Yeah, or understand. There's no amount of money that Sure, I'm sure with a certain amount of money we might be able to create a laser beam or a laser cannon, but you still don't know if that laser beam is going to have
Right.
any effect on any of this
Right.
technology.
Capture one of these ships, right? And then are you going to apply any of our technology in theory, like in practice, test it out to see if it can do it? No, there's aliens, and we got to spend more money, and we don't know if any of the stuff that we're going to spend money on is going to do anything to affect them, but we got to do it anyway, just because.
So you asked, why is aggression our first go at this? Because I go back to, it's all bullshit. Do I believe aliens are out there? Yes. Do I hope aliens are out there? Yes, because if Earth's all the universe has got to offer, the universe fell short. So you're right. We should be interested in communication. But the government, trust me, the government does not want us to know there's other ways of living. So we need to attack aliens if they were to come. Because they might show us there's a better way than a two-party system where you elect some guy to fuck you raw for the next 4 years.
Maybe.
All right? It's fear, 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 fear. Aliens, COVID is falling apart. Plan B, bring in the UFOs. Make a Project Bluebeam. We'll make a sky show. We'll say aliens are attacking, and we'll lock everybody down again. It's just fear hustling at this point. There's your new boogeyman.
Aliens are they're planting the seeds for a future boogeyman.
Yes, exactly. And so
isn't this ridiculous, man?
It is. Yeah. It is. I started this podcast as being a conspiracy theorist, and now, like, it's just
now the government's the conspiracy theorists, and we're the ones trying to debunk them.
It's so Hitler was the boogeyman, understood, but that was a tangible boogeyman. Then the Cold War. Well, we're not great with Russia. There's Russian ships and submarines out there. I could see the boogeyman. Then I don't know what really the next big boogeyman would have been up till 9/11. I'm sure there's dozens of others that I'm.
The Gulf War, Saddam.
Saddam Hussein, weapons of mass destruction. Then, speed up to our lifetime, 9/11, NSA needs to take over everything. We got the new boogeyman. Terrorists are coming to get us. And then we went invisible. The new boogeyman is COVID. You can't see germs, but you can research germs. You could research viruses and diseases and what medicine works. So this is falling apart. How are we going to research aliens?
Right.
If they say aliens are there and they blow up part of the White House or shoot up the Pentagon or something and say aliens attacked us, or just, doctor some video where tanks are being cut in half by laser beams. There's no, I know I'm speaking crazy here, but there's no.
Are you? They're the ones. We're not the ones who wrote this article.
Exactly.
Or had this briefing with the Navy.
Yeah. There's no research we can do on this.
Like us as individuals.
Yeah.
So here's my point is that if there are aliens that are observing Earth and observing America, humans, why don't you come on our podcast?
Yeah.
And, forget about take me to your leader. No, don't go to those guys. They're completely incompetent. They don't speak for everybody, right? Come sit down on Two Doomed Men, and we'll interview you guys, and you can have your fair shake here.
We'll take you to our leaders if you're going to remove them from this planet and never bring
now you're
them back.
inciting violence, bro.
I'm not inciting violence. I'm trying to say Joe Biden should go visit other worlds and not come back.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll go for a ride with Jeff Bezos on.
Him and Jeff Bezos could go to Pluton 6 in the whatever galaxy and live a happy life together.
There's a petition to keep Jeff Bezos launching himself into space. At some
60,000 people.
There's a petition to keep him, don't come back, stay in space. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Oh God. So hold on.
Go ahead.
See, but you know what the difficult thing's going to be now? All right, so, I mean, we're not going to get into what Project Bluebeam is, but it's to the point now, though, that, like, if aliens attack next week, what do we do? Like, because 50% of me is like, should I load up and get all the supplies to head to the woods, or what's the government doing this week? You know what I mean? Like, it's a difficult situation to be in if you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's going to be hard to, like, decipher,
Yeah. I think we'll be all right. I don't think aliens are going to attack us next week. So.
Yeah, no. After all the years that we haven't been attacked,
right. And if they do, we'll talk about it probably. As long as our houses aren't blown up by laser beams. So you want to go into the next topic, the domestic terrorist plan, or you want to go on to G7 first, or? Why don't we do G7?
Yeah,
first,
because
actually,
you know
'cause
why?
this
Yeah.
domestic terrorist thing is going to be a huge segment.
Well,
here.
the domestic terrorist ties into how weak Joe Biden makes this country look.
I didn't do any research or any planning for G7, so
That's
let
fine.
it rip. That's on you.
So, okay, so when was G7? 2 weeks ago? Because we've been off the air, so now I'm all screwed up.
It was 2 weeks ago, like while we were out in
Okay, so
Montauk.
the last episode you guys heard, G7 was actually taking place. So now we're 2 weeks into the future. And bottom line here, Joe Biden has turned America into a laughing stock. Okay? Everybody could talk about how much they hated Trump, but world leaders did not F with Trump. Not a single one of them.
They were intimidated by his craziness.
Yes. And yeah, the guy was crazy. Was he perfect? No, but at least there was a military present. At least everybody was on edge to know we can't push the envelope here. We can't, you know what I mean? And you could hate Trump, you could hate all his, his administration and everything they did, but a safe country will always be better than whatever the hell path we are getting led down right now by Joe Biden. All right? Don't like his policy. We were safe in those past 4 years. Joe Biden showed up to the meeting with Putin, and Joe Biden had cheat cards.
I saw a paper with like notes on it.
When Putin met Trump, Putin had a cheat card. Okay,
because really?
Yes. When Biden walked in, Putin just sat back like this and just talked to him like this the whole time because he doesn't care. This is a senile, weak old man. If me and you know, and everybody listening in Doom Nation knows that Biden is a puppet, there's handlers. We've posted on our Instagram account, who is they? Why is Joe Biden always saying they don't want me to answer questions? They are only going to let me talk to a few people. Who is they? You don't want us to question the election, but clearly the president has they in control.
Yeah, he's literally said it.
And if we know it, world leaders know even more about it. Mm-hmm. So during the G7 summit meeting, how do you say his name? Theodo from Canada, or
Justin Trudeau.
Trudeau, there you go. He made a statement where he believes that Kamala Harris is going to be in the White House by 2022.
Yeah, I think I heard this.
So other world leaders already see how weak this man is. Just listen to any one of his speeches or listen to any of his interviews. He can't get a single sentence out. We've been saying this for over a year now that he can't string two sentences together.
You know what? We just saw Dave Smith in.
Yes.
I don't want to say what he said because that'd be like putting his comedy out there. So never mind.
True.
Mind.
He had some good one-liners and stuff, but the world leaders realize this. Joe Biden was laughed at 3 separate times during the G7 summit. I know I'm all over the place because I'm just completely infuriated by him. He got lost walking into a place in front of all the world leaders, walked into a room and just started, like that gif of John Travolta from what's that movie? Where he walks in and
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. Joe Biden was doing that to such a point that Jill had to run up and grab him and lead him out of the room as the rest of the world leaders laughed at our leader. Then during the roundtable discussion, Joe Biden's talking about how we need to do this for Libya and we need to do this for Libya and we need to do this for Libya. The entire time it was supposed to be for Syria. For Syria. Could you imagine? You guys, everybody hated Trump. Yeah, Trump's such a bad guy. We literally have a president right now that could possibly sit down to make a deal with another world leader and make deals for other countries that he's not even trying to make a deal for.
Say the wrong words. At least Trump was of sound mind, and what he's saying, he knew what he was saying. Even if it was crazy.
This is insanity. All the stuff that they talked about Trump is bonkers compared to what Joe Biden is actually doing. Another time at the round table, Joe Biden's like, oh, you forgot to mention the president of South Africa. And they're like, no, we did. And everybody burst out laughing.
Did they really?
Oh, 3 different times. He was the laughing stock of this laughing summit meeting. And
Hey, this is what the establishment wanted.
Yes.
Bro. They wanted a puppet in there that was easy to control and would take orders that they,
yep.
and wouldn't give them much pushback. Trump was the complete opposite of that.
Yeah.
Was he? We've been critical of him. We've said he wasn't great, but he was his own man, right?
Yeah.
And he did what he wanted to do. And was he influenced here and there? Maybe.
Yep.
But he still was of sound mind and wasn't just a complete pushover or mentally incompetent.
Yeah. And not, we blame the establishment plenty, but I straight up blame you weak-minded sheeple of the left and the progressives, and I blame you for listening to the media, and I blame the media because we had a powerhouse that could not be fucked with on the world stage. To me, that's something important. I'm biased here because I didn't mind his administration and a lot of his policies, but you simple-minded people listened to the media about how the orange man is bad, and now we have a senile old man making us. So sorry to keep going into this. I know you got something to say, but we are appearing weaker and weaker and weaker. And we had a talk about there's sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you all, people, I'm going to tell all the sheep right now, the wolves of the world know it is time to pounce. This is the best time. Sooner or later, Biden's going to have to step down. And in between that, we are going to be the weakest we've ever been before Kamala could get in there. And that's the time to strike. Yeah. Say what you got to say, and then I wanted to go into Russia and China.
She's questionable, right? Our last episode, we criticized her for not being able to speak, in interviews and stuff like that. And we actually gave Biden credit for being better at stuff like that than she is.
And isn't it sad that, it's almost like by comparison, fuck, we got to take this woman almost at this point because this guy's he's literally the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah, the point I wanted to make from the little I know about the G7 is even going into these conversations, or I guess you say these negotiations with a guy like Putin, you're going in at a point of weakness because the Biden administration has adopted the woke policy behind everything, right? Where America's evil. Go into a negotiation with Putin, and you are taking the position that your country is evil. Yeah, that's a real position of strength to begin with. Number one, right? That's number one. Number two, they all of that stuff, all of this ideology that the Biden administration and for largely the establishment is not rooted in reality. So when you go into a negotiation with Putin, and I know they were getting after him about him imprisoning his political opponent. I believe his name is Alexander Navalny or whatever his name is. Trying to be like, well, why did you throw this guy in prison? He's your opponent. It's not right. Wow, man, the projection there is incredible and you couldn't have set Putin up for a bigger layup than you did because, boy, Putin shot back and says, well, what about the people on January 6th that rioted at the Capitol? You threw them all in jail, solitary confinement. Ashley Babbitt, the protester who jumped the thing, she got shot and killed, and the police officer faces no retribution. And you ever seen that meme where it's like the stick figure guy, and he's like,
yep.
Yeah, that had to be, that's it. He's got you. And I'm not trying to say that what Putin did is right. It's not. But all he's saying is, you guys do the same shit I do. You just don't pretend like you don't.
Exactly.
And he's fucking right.
Yeah. And it's a sad day when you go on Instagram and you're cheering for the president of Russia.
I'm not cheering for him either.
No, but people were because this was a big joke to a lot of people, and all the meme creators are going to create memes. Right. They don't care. And some of it was funny, like you're saying, with the finger pointing up and the down. And we are now in a position where the things that the president of Russia says, mocking to our own media, can make us laugh because our own media and our own government, the way they do things, is laughable.
It's not reality based.
No, it's not. It's based on. And I heard something, and it's the truest statement I've heard for the 21st century American individual. If you want to run this country, you need to run it by emotion, not facts. If you could get people emotionally involved, they will follow you into
Well,
a
that's
slaughter.
what's happening
Yeah,
right now.
it is.
They're not,
Yeah,
you know.
they don't care about reality. They only care about how everybody feels because it matters.
So that's a perfect segue into our next segment, which is about domestic terrorists. Something we actually had almost an entire episode about. It was episode 50. It was called Domestic Terrorists.
Yeah.
And so this is something we kind of have a little bit of receipts on. We were warning back then, we're on episode 70-something now, that this was going to get bad. And they were going to keep looking to press this weird term on and use it to justify stuff. So the White House put out a fact sheet, National Strategy for Countering Domestic Terrorism. And I have it here. It's a lot, right? I suggest everybody, you said this in our little update, go and read it because you should. This is important.
If you could, disclaimer, if you could sit through the bullshit.
It's at the White House's website, whitehouse.gov. And I have a couple of things highlighted here. It's too long to just read or talk about.
Yeah, no, we're not going to read 31 pages right now.
So one part of it says, the strategy we are releasing today is carefully tailored to address violence and reduce factors that lead to violence, threaten public safety, and infringe on the free expression of ideas. That's so funny. Because the state, the government, is the ones with the monopoly on violence in this country.
Yep.
They're the ones with the military, they're the ones with the police, and they're the ones that are using this bill to try and infringe on the free expression of ideas. This bill says in it that anyone who talks about or does acts that are anti-government, anti-capitalism, anti-anything could be, or incites violence. Yep. I wrote here.
Well, hold on. The funny thing is, the part that you highlighted, factors that lead to violence. We are now, remember a Minority Report where it's an old Tom Cruise movie where basically they could see like the future and you would get arrested before you committed the act.
Yes, that's what
so now they're trying to. So even if you look like, not even if you commit the act, if you look like you're about to lead into the act, they can nail you.
Right. And what I was going to say is that they use this term incitement a lot in this document, right? And as we saw on January 6th and the impeachment trial and etc., the incitement term could be used very liberally. Very liberally. They tried to say that Donald Trump incited the attack on the Capitol. They had the whole impeachment thing, and it didn't.
Shocker.
He wasn't impeached, right? And we went back and we did our own mock impeachment trial, and we laid out Trump's exact words, which were peacefully and patriotically. That was not, at least in our opinion, a direct incitement to violence.
Yeah.
But they were touting those words as a direct incitement to violence. I'm trying to set up here that an incitement to violence can be spun however you want it to be, to imprison or eliminate someone that goes against your narrative.
Anything,
you being the government.
Anything done patriotically will be inciting violence. Listen, there's clearly two rules for everyone. If you side with the ruling liberal class, you get to go scot-free. Hunter Biden can drop the N-bomb all he wants, and people sell his new artwork, buy his new artwork for $500,000. But if you're on the other side and you tweeted something 10 years ago, your whole career is over. There's two sets of rules for everyone. And so basically what this document is saying, when Trump said patriotically and peacefully, well, patriotically is now a term for domestic terrorism. It's not really, I'm just saying it is. Because anything done in being a patriot is frowned upon, basically. Because now you're not supposed to ask any questions. Don't question nothing. Just obey. If you're fine with obeying everything and not questioning anything, you're going to love this document.
Yeah. Let me skip ahead to another point I have highlighted here. Another point in this thing, it says, the U.S. government will also work to find ways to counter the polarization often fueled by disinformation, misinformation, and dangerous conspiracy theories online, supporting an information environment that fosters healthy democratic discourse. That whole statement is a contradiction of itself. Yep. They're telling you that they're going to find ways to counter, disinformation, dangerous conspiracy theories online, but they want to promote healthy discourse. Who determines what a conspiracy theory is?
Big tech
They
does.
or they, right? In concert with big tech. This is all Daddy's going to tell you what you can and can't say, and if you say something that Daddy tells you can't, you'll be labeled a domestic terrorist, and because you said that thing, you were inciting violence. That's why I was telling you before we started this. I'm like, be careful what you say, because now there's literally a document here that says if you say things a certain way, they could come after you and be like, you incited violence.
And there is a part in this where it talks about big tech's role in censoring misinformation. So we had spoken about this a long time ago. Who gets to determine what is hate speech? Hate speech is not speech you hate. You know what I mean? Like, but it is now going to be
speech you hate.
Yeah.
Or speech the government hates.
Yes. So whatever the left and the establishment finds bad, it just gets thrown into this pile. Notice
this defends the establishment, the cathedral, this massive government state apparatus.
Yep.
This even goes outside of our own culture war of liberal socialism, conservative, whatever.
First and foremost, this entire document made the Libertarian Party a terrorist organization. Yeah. I'll let you dive into that, but where do I want to go? You know what? Go into that. And
so this whole document essentially makes the entire Libertarian Party a terrorist organization, because the Libertarian Party is founded on anti-government ideology. Not that we're going to kill anybody in the government and revolution. The Libertarian Party believes that, like, this massive state that we have built up over the years is not what the founding fathers intended. It was supposed to be limited, small government that leaves you alone. It doesn't get involved in your life. And the Libertarian Party, for the most part, the Libertarian Party itself has its own problems as well. For the most part, the ideology is we got to get the Libertarian Party in there, and then once we get into those positions, use the authority of those positions to downsize the state to a point where the state's not as big and there isn't
so much overreach
in everything. So another thing is, the Libertarian Party, something me and you have talked about a lot lately, they're always questioning the need for all the three-letter agencies, the Libertarian Party.
And now you're a domestic terrorist.
The ATF, the FBI,
NSA,
on and on,
alphabet soup.
and on. You see what I mean? Large federal government apparatus. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember this, but back in episode 50, we mentioned how John Brennan was on CNN, and he labeled libertarians
as domestic
terrorists, right? John Brennan used to work for the CIA. And the point I wanted to make is that there's nothing wrong with questioning the existence or need for the three-letter agencies. You mean to tell me, like, if I'm thinking about it, like, well, George Washington didn't say we need an FBI.
Yeah.
Why do we need an FBI? Is it possible we could undo that and, get rid of them and close that office? You're mean to tell me that I can't think about that? I can't ask those questions?
Oh, but wait,
I can't vote for politicians that want to do that?
They're not going to allow politicians that are going to want to do that because they'll arrest them. It is a complete onslaught on right-wing politics. This is just going after anybody who doesn't agree.
It's not even only, I was saying before, and I posted this on Instagram before, it's not just aimed at right-wing politics.
This will be brought into anyone. It's so broad.
The document mentions socialism. It says, anyone basically, like, socialism is anti-government, anti-capitalism. So, look, and I post this, me and you don't agree with socialism, right? We, for the most part, agree with free market capitalism. But you have a right in America to believe in whatever economic theory you want to believe in.
Not under this administration.
These guys, like these socialists on Twitter, this guy I follow, Ryan Knight, he's a super hardcore socialist, right? And I disagree with him all the time. But he has a right to believe that if he wants to. Yeah. It's in the fucking Constitution. You can believe whatever you want. And if you want to talk about those things, fine. I could disagree with you. People like that, people like us, need to align with right now and oppose this sort of thing because, look, I might disagree with you on the details of whatever it is you believe in, fine. But I respect your, right to talk about that stuff. You're not a terrorist for wanting our economy to be more socialist.
Yep. This is just going to create more conspiracy theories, and now they have a document to combat conspiracy theories. You know why this document is 32 pages, well, 31 without the cover, why it's so short? because it's easy to read. It's so general and broad. Every time we try to read one of these bills, page 1, sentence 1 is just, yes. But this one, everyone can read because it's super broad and super general, and it's malleable.
By design.
Yes, it's malleable. So if in next month some problem arises that the Democrats don't like, they'll go, oh, well, this is covered by the national strategy for countering domestic terrorists. And now it's just going to lead to more conspiracy theories. This came out now. We're not going to go deep into it. I do really want to do an episode on it soon. The election audit, right? You don't mean to tell me now with this 31-page document that came out that when Arizona shows, they're already showing that there was election fraud.
Okay. If
don't care. When that happens, you don't think that whoever agrees with Arizona, domestic terrorists,
right?
The whole state of
right.
Arizona,
Probably.
Domestic terrorists.
Probably, yeah.
This is going to be used to combat anything that can move forward with any type of fraud or any type of wrongdoing. They're covering their ass. I'm the government, and I'm here to help. You know what I mean? You're making things worse.
They're just trying to centralize and consolidate power around the cathedral, as the libertarians call it, right? The cathedral's like the establishment, the powers that be. Forget about, they don't want Trumps, they don't want Bernies, they'll want to absorb people like that, and like they've done with AOC. They want to turn them to their way, serve the state. A reason why they backtracked so quickly on defund the police when that was the big thing last year is because they went, oh man, if all these plans we have to consolidate power, we need the police to carry this out. We can't get rid of them. We need to make sure that they're on our side. And and I shared a statistic that the police have been overfunded under Biden.
Next with the police, they're going to try and federalize the police. They're going to try and make the police department its own alphabet agency. So they have boots on the ground. This, you know what? This is how dictatorships rise up. This is the start of a dictatorship. Flat out.
Right. You name a public enemy.
Yes. Only a dictator would write up something like this.
And another point I wanted to make is that, like, the guys who are behind all this, pulling the strings, they're the three-letter agencies, and they're ingrained in society now. I bet you a lot of people don't even think of, do we need an FBI? Do we need a CIA?
No.
Because they're, like, ingrained almost in our culture now.
Yeah.
And these guys, they work in tandem with media, and they go out there and they spread, basically, they're the ones that spread misinformation and propaganda, right? And I'm going to play a clip of this guy, this real guinea, Frank Figluzzi, right? He was a former assistant director of counterintelligence at the FBI, and he went on MSNBC talking about this, and this doesn't even go far enough for this guy. Listen to what he's got to say. I'm going to play it here. Hang on a second.
Testified publicly on the Hill that what happened on January 6th is domestic terrorism. What have we learned from our experience with international terrorism? In order to address that problem, arresting low-level operatives is merely a speed bump, not a roadblock. In order to really tackle terrorism, and this time domestically, you've got to attack and dismantle the command and control element of a terrorist group. And unfortunately, and I know this is painful to hear, that may mean people sitting in Congress right now, people in and around the former president. That's how you do this. Otherwise, recruitment, inciting, and cult-like leadership continues to recruit people to violence.
So this doesn't even go far enough for this guy. This guy is saying we need to use this stuff to go after members in Congress who are also domestic terrorists. Frank is on here. He's on MSNBC. Obviously, is in the liberal left-wing establishment camp. You know what I mean? These are literal people who work in the three-letter agencies. They then retire. Then they go on CNN, NBC, MSNBC, and they go on there as consultants and experts in the field, and they get to spew outrageous conspiracy theories, right? But they're not considered conspiracy theories. They're considered, well, this is an authoritative, force
dictatorship
on the matter. We got to listen to this guy and say some shit like that. And he's not the only one, right? Let me give you a little research I did here, right? So some of the three-letter agency members who now work in American media. Andrew McCabe, the former director of the FBI, he works for CNN. John Brennan, our friend, the former director of the CIA, he works for NBC as a national security analyst. James Calper, the former Department of National Intelligence, he works at CNN. Michael Hayden, former CIA director, works for CNN. Josh Campbell, former FBI special agent in the terrorism field, works for CNN. Let's not forget James Comey, right? And Tony Blinken, Obama's former Department of National Intelligence chief, also work for CNN. James Comey does a lot of contributing on CNN. You have a state of propaganda in this country where the three-letter agencies retire their employees and then send them into the media to spew out the talking points that the three-letter. You mean to tell me Andrew McCabe, doesn't talk with the FBI anymore?
Of course
he does, and they tell him, look, go on tonight and talk about this, push this narrative, so we could get this done and build our careers this way, and this is the agenda we want you to push. That's unacceptable.
It doesn't
Members of
even
the
go
agency,
that far.
imagine if I'm sorry to keep cutting you off, but imagine if the KGB. The KGB was a thing, the KGB from Soviet Union in America. And then, these KGB agents, they retire. Now they go work in Soviet Ministry of News. It's the same fucking thing, literally.
Yeah. And it doesn't even go as far as these big names getting jobs on CNN. I can promise you there are CIA operatives that just their job is, okay, you work for the CIA now, and now we're going to send you to school for journalism, and then you're going to go work for all these agencies.
Right, we retire you.
No, not even retire. Active members of the CIA and FBI currently working. I wouldn't be surprised if...
But yes, I see what you're saying. Like they're almost undercover working in the media.
Yeah.
But they don't even need to do that. They just retire people, and then they put them on the panel, and then they go, look, this guy's a credible source.
Cover all your basics.
Because now they're an authority on the subject matter.
Here you go. But then you get somebody like Clapper or whatever, or Brennan, to come on and say something, right?
Yeah, that's right, Clapper. Sorry, I said Calper.
So you get someone like Clapper to come on and say something, and he's being interviewed by a CIA operative. They're obvious, they're going to just work together. They're not going to push upon each other. They're not going to question each other, and you're just going to be fed bullshit.
And just to tie this all in, is to the point I'm trying to make about the Libertarian Party as an example, and was it Brennan, I believe, who said the Libertarians are terrorists? You have a party that calls for the abolishment of the agency that the guy works for. The guy then is retired, goes on the media, and says that party is terrorists. Right? Why? Maybe because they're trying to eliminate the agency that you work for, where your bread is buttered and all the power that you have is from. That's complete speculation that we're doing here, right? But, I mean...
Do you know what type of things and strings you need to pull to become the director of the CIA?
Yeah, there's some skeletons in those closets, bro, yeah.
There's not a closet big enough to hide all those skeletons.
Yeah. And okay, so let's get on to the next point here, right? A lot of this push around domestic terrorism, it's the fallout, it's political opportunism from the January 6th riot. As we've said, never let a good crisis go to waste, right?
And if you can't, create it.
So let's get into an interesting story about that. And before we do, I want to be very clear here. We are going to be completely speculating on this stuff, right? I'm going to read you some news articles, and we're covering a news article that was written. And then me and you are going to go back and forth, and we're going to speculate, and I know you're going to say some crazy shit.
Yes.
So a lot of this stuff is our opinion. It's not fact. It's not proven 100% fact yet. It's going to be our opinion, most of it.
Well, even if it got proven as fact, who would really give a shit?
But I'm just putting that out there. The disclaimer's out there. So this
is how you podcast in Biden's America.
Yeah. Yeah, this is how we try to not get kicked off of YouTube. So there was an article written by Revolver News. Revolver News is an independent news website, and this article was quoted by Tucker Carlson. He did a whole segment on it. Crystal and Sagar reported on this article, and I read this entire article myself, and it contains meticulous research around individuals involved around the January 6th Capitol riot, and I have to be honest, I know if you really look at Revolver News, they seem to lean conservative, but I'm not discounting them because
They're
of
now
it, right?
domestic terrorists.
I'm not discounting them in any way. I'm telling you, I read it, and it seems to be very unbiased, very meticulous research they did, and it's very objective. And they point out that there are multiple individuals, unnamed and unindicted, in court proceedings against Capitol rioters. And it also shows government documents stating that law enforcement participated in the riot. That's all it says. It doesn't get into the specifics of what law enforcement, who the people are. There's documents that say law enforcement, basically generally, that law enforcement was involved in the January 6th riot. Some of the unindicted individuals. So let me be clear. Let me back up. All right. There's people who went into the building on January 6th, into the Capitol building, and they got arrested, and they've been indicted for trespassing or terrorism, whatever you want to indict them for.
Meanwhile, the New York court dismissed all the rioting cases from last summer.
Yeah, let's not even get into this. Let's stay on focus here, right? And in these documents, there's named individuals, right? This guy went into the building, and he rioted. He broke in, and he was with another guy who's unnamed, and we're not going to indict him for anything.
I think they're called like person 1, 2,
yes,
3.
Person 1, 2, 3. I'm going to read a little bit from the Revolver News article, and it says, the unindicted co-conspirators. The first suspiciously unindicted co-conspirators we will consider are the Person 2 and Person 3, who are unindicted co-conspirators in the indictment against Oathkeeper. Oathkeeper is a group of whatever, the militia group or whatever. Is co-conspirators in the indictment against Oathkeeper Thomas Caldwell and 15 named co-defendants. For those unfamiliar, Thomas Caldwell is a 65-year-old from Virginia and an alleged member of the Oath Keepers, which the Department of Justice refers to as a paramilitary or militia group. The Caldwell case served as one of the first major indictments following the January 6th incident. The Department of Justice press release provides more in detail. This is the actual DOJ press release. Jessica Marie Watkins, Donovan Ray, both of Champaign County, Ohio, and Thomas Caldwell, 65, of Clark County, Virginia, were indicted today in federal court in the District of Columbia on charges of conspiracy, obstructing an official proceeding, destruction of government property, and unlawful entry into restricted building or grounds in violation of blah, 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 blah. Watkins and Crowell were arrested on January 18th. Caldwell was arrested on January 19th. All three individuals originally were charged by criminal complaint. The maximum penalty for obstructing an official proceeding is a sentence of up to 20 years in prison. The official proceeding that they were obstructing was the counting certification of the Electoral College, right? The document here goes on to say, according to the charging documents, Watkins, Crowell, and Caldwell communicated with each other in advance of January 6, 2021 incursion on the U.S. Capitol and coordinated their attack. Watkins, Crowell, and Caldwell are all affiliated with the Oath Keepers. While Watkins and Crowell are also members of the Ohio State Regular Militia, Watkins claimed to be a commanding officer within the Ohio State Regular Militia in a social media post. Okay, so that's the press briefing by the DOJ. And the article goes on to go, a careful read of the indictment against Caldwell reveals that a certain Person 2 was a key co-conspirator alongside Caldwell in nearly every dimension relevant to the charges in question. Person 2 planned logistics with Caldwell days in advance of January 6th, stayed in the same hotel room for days together, and when Caldwell allegedly stormed the barricades into restricted areas outside the U.S. Capitol, Person 2 is allegedly to have stormed the barricades right beside him. But 5 months since the act, both co-conspirators allegedly committed, only Caldwell has been charged. Person 2, for some mysterious reason, remains an unindicted co-conspirator. So that whole press release by the DOJ lays out how severe and
what they did,
and they faced 20 years in prison for what these people did, you know, for this attack. But there's other people that did it with them too, and there's no names. They're not indicted. Why are those people not indicted? Why are those people not named? Could it be, maybe, they're FBI undercover operatives that were, or informants, or that were there? Remember, Just as complete speculation. The article itself doesn't even insinuate this. It's just trying to show it's possible. The FBI has done shit like this before. Could it be that the reason why they're not indicted and named is because they're undercover FBI operatives, and they were in there, they were involved in the logistics and the planning, encouraging these Oath Keepers to attack the Capitol, booking the hotel rooms for them to stay in, literally charging into the Capitol side by side with Caldwell, right? The point here is, if these actions are so severe, if they're so punishable, why are there people that did the exact same stuff not being punished? And it could be because they are FBI agents and they have immunity because they were just doing what the FBI does.
Yep. I said this from the start to make you happy. I speculated from the start that this was a false flag operation. I don't know Revolver News from a hole in a wall. They're relatively new, right? I'm almost positive that they are a relatively new source. So I don't know how credible any of these are. You read the actual department's release, and there's person 2 right there, and it makes no sense. One thing, when we did the podcast the night of the insurrection, once the initial excitement of it wore off, and then we were able to take a step back, we always said how odd it was that the security was so weak. We always said how odd it was that there wasn't enough to stop this 1 million man march. However many people showed up, we still don't even know, but we always found it odd, and that's what led my suspicions to speculate that it was a false flag operation. For anyone who doesn't know what a false flag operation is, it's basically an op that you do. So let's say we always know that, the left wants to get rid of the Second Amendment.
Can I use an actual false flag?
Yeah, go for it.
Proven operation?
Let's do it.
In Vietnam, before the Vietnam War, there's this thing called the Gulf of Tonkin. There was a United States naval vessel in the waters off of Vietnam. We were not involved in the Vietnam War at all. An attack occurred, and the U.S. naval vessel was attacked. An explosive landed on it. The United States government blamed the North Vietnamese, used it as justification to enter the war and go to war in Vietnam, and it was turned out later proven that it was just us attacking ourselves to give a justification to go into the war. That is a false flag.
So, like we said before, don't let a good crisis go to waste. And if you don't have a crisis, create one. Here was your crisis. Now, did everybody that stormed the Capitol, were they in on this false flag? No. But were there definitely co-conspirators? I would like to speculate yes, because in this hyper excitement, you have Trump talking, whether you think he was inciting violence or not. Everybody was on level 11 that day. And even if you were at the back of the line, if you saw people breaking in, you were probably going to run in and just, heave ho and go crazy. Right. I've had my suspicions since January 6th that this was a false flag. So this kind of just, solidifies it.
Again, to be clear and fair to Revolver News, they don't go out and make the crazy assumptions that even we're making.
Yeah.
They're just reporting what they see. And
you know why this is so strange? It's actual news.
Yeah.
This is the information we found. We present you it.
All they're saying is there's these Oath Keepers and these militia groups that were planning on action on January 6th of getting into the Capitol building. So they're saying, or the reporting is even saying, the court reporting saying these guys are charged with actually making the Oath Keepers. Let's just use the Oath Keepers for example, right? There were some guys in the Oath Keepers that were ahead of time planning on getting into the Capitol building and doing something, right? But
what if it was person 2 putting the idea to make these plans?
That is tinfoil hats on conspiracy. You could have they were legit Oath Keeper people, and maybe they wanted to do this, but now you have a person 2 that could possibly be an FBI operative, undercover, is an Oath Keeper, and is egging on the Oath Keepers. We got to do something. Trump, the election got stolen. We got to get in there. We got to, you know what I mean? And they're trying to get information on the Oath Keepers, but at the same time, they're radicalizing these Oath Keepers and helping them plan it.
Yep.
Booking the hotel rooms, like we said. The guy, the unnamed person is there step by step. Again, There's absolutely no evidence on paper whatsoever that it actually was an FBI agent. The report doesn't claim that. It's just telling you this is what it is. And now me and you are speculating on what it could be. Another point I want to make here is that the FBI has done stuff like this before, right? The plot against Gretchen Whitmer.
Yes.
In Michigan, right?
Oh,
there was
year.
a plot. It was like last year, right? A plot of militia guys to apparently go and kidnap her. Turns out that multiple people on the team of kidnappers were FBI undercover agents that were like assisting, aiding, abetting the kidnapping plot. I've heard of stories in the past, 10, 20 years of Muslim men that were like approached by undercover FBI agents and trying, convinced to commit a terrorist attack, try and radicalize them to do it. And this way they could then have the justification to go and arrest them. There's the Black Panthers. The FBI infiltrated them in like the 70s or whenever it was, and posed as them in order to like bring down that organization. This shit has happened before. So yes, we're speculating. We have absolutely no evidence whatsoever that this actually happened, but we have historical evidence that they've done stuff like this before. And let's be fucking real. It sounds plausible.
Yeah. Let's take a step back and look at everything we talked about today, right? Starting from the end and going backwards. It's plausible. We know the FBI has infiltrated Black Panthers. We know false flag operations are not beneath us as a country.
Right, like where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
That's the way we're looking at it.
Now, look at what we just talked about. So remember how we always said there's nothing done by coincidence? And then wasn't it so strange in the year 2020 that everything bad happened to Trump was good for the Democrats? Right? It's a conspiracy theory, but it's too coincidental that it all worked out in their favor. Now, here we are. Why wouldn't January 6th be the perfect way to create this boogeyman of the domestic terrorists so the Biden dictatorship can create the, what is it called again? The National Strategy for Countering Domestic Terrorism. Look at how broad that document is. Look at how that document can be manipulated to attack anyone that opposes any sort of a threat. Now, why
to the state, mind you,
right,
to the state, not even to like things that we want to talk about all the time, socialism. No. Those things are being targeted too. This is directly to the state. Anyone who poses a threat to the state is going to be.
And on page 3 of this national strategy, they talk about January 6th. It pays off. It makes, not that it makes sense and not that we have proof of it, but if you wanted to get this agenda out there and you want to start enforcing this by being a dictator and physically and actually attacking your political opponents, cover your ass and just make sure this insurrection happens. Put person 1, 2, 3. Yes, they built the justification. That's why I buy this is a false flag, because look at the documentation that is coming out now. This was too perfectly set up for the national strategy. Nothing happens by coincidence. It's all by design.
Yeah, and
if we want to hear, just like go back even further, how come this top secret fucking meeting that took place in the Capitol over aliens, the New York Post has a story about it. If it was that top secret, nobody would be talking to journalists.
Yeah. Let me be clear here too. I don't think it's Grandpa Dictator that has these evil schemes.
No.
And he's the face. He's the face. It's the 3-letter agencies.
Yeah.
The powers that be behind
the establishment.
They're if this, again, it's alleged, if this happens to be true and it was the FBI who helped help the Oath Keepers plan this attack or these actions that they took on the Capitol, they took direct action to justify law or policy to target, they took a direct action to cause an event that would then be used as justification to target everyone that could possibly criticize their own existence.
I've been saying this since January 6th.
Yeah.
And I'm the crazy one.
Because I need to see proof. I need to see evidence. But
You just got to think outside the box and don't trust these people ever.
I don't discount you, what you say. That's why you're on the show with me.
But it's simple. I mean, I hope somebody out there understands it and like can see where I'm coming from. Like, if they're telling you to look left, look right.
You should probably look right.
Yeah. If they're telling you to go down Street A, you better be walking down Street B. Yeah. Whoever they hate is the right person.
Yep.
You know, like, I actually explained this nicely to somebody. I don't remember if we brought this up in a previous podcast. I explained it pretty nicely, and I'll short it down. Got into a conversation with someone about politics, and they were like, well, what made you like Trump so much? And I was like, it's not that off the bat I was this Trump guy, because at the beginning I didn't want a reality TV star. But I got into politics before we had the podcast, before Trump ran. I got into politics in the end of the Bush administration. I was still young. And then the Obama administration, I was in college. I had a better understanding of politics. I knew right away that there was some good people and there were some bad people. Throughout my whole life, I always looked at politicians and go, but they didn't answer the question. They just danced around it. And that always raised my suspicions. So someone like Hillary Clinton, I've hated Hillary Clinton longer than I've supported Donald Trump. So when all the people I didn't trust and didn't like started pointing the finger at Trump, saying he's the bad guy, nope, he's the good guy. I'm on his team because you guys are all garbage. Right. And that's kind of what led my way into where we are now, basically, and how I feel about politics and even this show, that I've never trusted these people. Why am I going to start now? Yeah. Why am I not going to question you about COVID or anything for that matter?
Oh, yeah. And believe me, I'm not saying not to question anything, obviously. I'm just... I'm so skeptical of everything. I'm even skeptical of the crazy of like. I'm even skeptical of people being too skeptical sometimes. Right. That's how skeptical I am.
I look at it. You know, we had a conversation about Q and anons and all that stuff a while back over text messages, and you said that you don't buy the part of Hillary Clinton being a blood-sucking vampire.
It's too over the top.
Right. Here's the way I look at this, though. There is a child sex trafficking problem in the country, in the world. We don't know who runs it. I don't know who runs it. It is a crazy conspiracy theory to say that Hillary Clinton has her hand in child sex trafficking so she could drink the blood of children. Yeah. It is crazy. But let's prove, if I get proven wrong, that's a good thing. She used to be the Secretary of the State. Okay, it's a really good thing if she's not eating children. So let's prove it, and then we can rule her out. And then, you know what I mean?
And my counter to that would be that that's a waste of time. Like, that's not happening. It's like supernatural.
But what if it is happening though?
But you're wasting your time on a crackpot theory when there definitely is corruption. There definitely is shady shit Hillary Clinton's doing in reality that we could expose and is way more likely than adrenochrome sucking vampires. Let's focus on that stuff because that's probably what's really going on. And if you're going after the adrenochrome fucking vampire trial trafficking, whatever fuck shit, you're chasing nothing, right?
Yeah, but you don't know that it's nothing either.
Dude, but I mean,
it's so crazy. It's so crazy that it could fly under the radar.
Finally, a point of disagreement here.
It could fly under the radar so vastly that people like you are like, I can't even consider this to be a real thing.
But I'm going after Hillary Clinton on actual corruption of like finances and structure of our society and taking kickbacks. Let's go after that. That shit we know is going on, right? So let's go get them on those things, which are not supernatural in nature. They're more, based in reality.
Right. Well, adrenochrome's real. There's really people that do that.
But it's just so over. It's too outrageous. Like, you're gonna lose people.
That's look. I don't care how Hillary Clinton gets taken out, and I don't mean taken out of life. I mean like her corruption comes to light and gets arrested because the guy who wrote the book about what happened on the tarmac committed suicide. Another hint, Clinton body count. But you're right though. But if there is someone out there doing that, and there is people doing it, like, it's strange that like child sex trafficking has never been like uncovered until recent years. And I'm not saying Hillary Clinton's involved in it, but if she is, I'd like to know as well. You know what I mean? Like, it's a strange situation, but I feel you are right. We should, and for me too, I've even focused my attention on the stuff that we can get them for.
Financial corruption.
Because some of the conspiracy stuff where people faking their death and people, have been alive all along, coming up with plans, and I don't buy all of it. You always come across somebody's page and they got tweets and like it's like Charlie from when he was working in the basement.
Yeah.
That you lose me on that stuff. But I feel like that this would be so crazy that if you were an elite and that you really felt you were above the law, which most of them are, that this is so crazy you could get away with it because it would fly under the radar because no one in a million years would believe it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's my own craziness that like, hey, listen,
I'm not trying to talk down or anything or judge you for thinking that way. My point is that like if you start,
you lose people.
If you
right
start
away.
with Hillary Clinton's an adrenochrome sucking vampire and they're all trafficking little kids to get the blood from them, people are gonna go, what?
Yeah.
And they're gonna go, what are you talking about? You're a fucking crazy crackpot. They're gonna leave.
Yeah.
Right. But if you start with, Hillary Clinton, there's a lot of suspicious dealings she's done financially with her organization, and while she was Secretary of State, taking money in the Clinton Foundation and then giving those foreign entities that donated to the Clinton Foundation preferential treatment. Well, now people will be like, that sounds pretty interesting.
Or completely destroying Haiti.
Right. Things like that are more grounded in reality.
I get it.
And you could get more people to pay attention. The more people get to pay attention, the more chance there is of scrutiny falling on this person, the more chance there is of somebody in some sort of position of authority to investigate, possibly bring the person to justice, or commit suicide. Right. But when you start with blood-sucking fucking vampires, you know what I mean? That's my whole point.
Where we talk about the factuality so much that, like, you know what I mean? For, like, people, like, the everyday person, you couldn't start with that.
I look at it the same way as Joe Biden and the three-letter agency saying there's domestic white nationalist terrorists. No, it's the same thing. You're starting up here, and I don't believe it. It's probably down here. Yeah, there's racist people, but they're of minimal, population and no threat to everything. You're using it as justifications for some other shit.
We've talked about this extensively, and I think we're going to continue talking about it extensively. Like when we were on here with Professor Nick Giordano, where he was like, there used to be 4 million KKK members, and now within the span of 50 years, it's down to 4,000. You know what I mean? That's huge progress.
Right. Like if you could plot it on a graph, like a line graph, it'd be like,
neo-Nazis and KKK.
Like up here, and then, like the line would be going down. And then if you could plot on a graph mentions of how dangerous white nationalist domestic terrorism is by the government, it'd be the complete opposite.
Yeah.
It'd be an X.
Yeah.
Right. As it becomes in reality,
in the 60s, they weren't talking about it.
As it becomes less of a threat, the government starts saying it's more of a threat. The plot graph or whatever the fuck, the line graph would make it would not be correlated whatsoever.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why this document was only 32 pages long, because it's so general that it leaves it open to interpretation for whenever they need it on their side. Like I said, when it comes down to these election audits, you're a domestic terrorist. When it comes down to the next coming COVID wave and the Delta strain and whatever Fauci says, nope, you're a domestic. It's just... Remember I mentioned a long time ago, like, it's just a shield they hide behind? They put women or people of color or like someone who's trans or anything like that in certain positions, so when their policy doesn't work and they get criticized, like when Congresswoman Omar says something and she gets criticized, you're Islamophobic, you hate women, it's because I'm a woman of color. No, we hate your policy, not your religion or your sex. But no, this is the shield you hide behind to get...
It's a great strategy.
To get away with what you want. Now, the entire establishment, and for the most part, we're going to say the left because they're going to target the right for the most part, is basically coming out with this general broad document that anytime the right says, no, this is wrong, I guess you're a domestic terrorist then.
Yeah. Again, I want to be clear. It's not just the right.
I understand. I said for the most part.
It's targeting. Yeah, it's going to target like that clip we played.
Yeah.
Yes, right. Republican politicians, people like us, but it's also going to target your crazy lefties.
Yeah.
Maybe It might even target Antifa people. Maybe.
No, I doubt
we'll see.
that.
We'll see. They still serve a valuable purpose
Yeah.
to the establishment's agenda, but it is going to target anarchists, libertarian anarchists that just don't believe in government, and the socialists. It literally fucking says socialists in the thing. Anyone who is opposed to the idea of this large government, this establishment, we know who it is. It's Biden's, it's the Pelosi's, it's the
Bushes, the Obamas,
McConnells,
the Clintons,
it's the McConnells,
yeah.
it's Republicans too. You know, anyone who's opposed to the apparatus that just is there. That is what this is for.
Yeah.
They want to
This is their shield
consolidate
now.
more power behind them, so they could remain in this this mode of power.
With something like this coming out, it's 2021, and we'll forget about the audits and we'll forget about anything that else is going on. 2024, there's going to be an election, and obviously, it's hopefully going to be a Democrat versus Republican, and what we would like to see is a libertarian in there. But this document's going to evolve over the next 3 years, 2.5 years, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But with how broad this document and this strategy is, how is someone like Ron DeSantis going to start campaigning? Because every one of his policies are going to be dictated as a domestic terrorist policy.
But maybe people won't buy into it.
Oh, well, that's what we got to hope. We got to hope this takes on the same wildfire that critical race theory took on.
And here's the libertarian point or anarchist point I want to make of this, right? Say, yes, like you're saying, Ron DeSantis runs for president, and they're using this against him, and it doesn't work. But this apparatus, this new agency, this new whatever method remains. And Ron DeSantis is now elected president, and now he wields the sword of the domestic terrorist policy, and he turns it on whatever group or ideology or thing he personally disagrees with, right? That is a libertarian argument. You guys don't get to decide everything.
I'm glad that's an actual viewpoint. I just learned something, because the biggest tool to use against the establishment, and we won't say Biden or anything, to use against the establishment, is their own tools. When they do something to you, if you find a way to do something back to them, they have zero defense. So like you're saying, if Ron DeSantis becomes president and he turns the sword, everyone is effed. Now, you know what I mean? The other side gets it. We spoke about this when Biden came into office and signed all those executive orders undoing what Trump did. Now Ron's going to get in there and undo everything Biden does. And then the next guy's going to do everything that Ron does.
The point of libertarianism that there shouldn't be a sword.
No, yeah.
Right? Like, and the point of, let's say, a Dave Smith becoming president is he gets in there, he takes his sword and he throws it in the ocean and he gets rid of it. That's would be best for everyone, I feel.
And then the sword comes back and stabs him in the back, and it was a botched robbery.
Well, all right, maybe we throw it into Mount Doom and melt it down or something on the ocean, somewhere where it can't be used again, right? Maybe the Ring of Power is a better analogy, right? Like the only way to get rid of the ring is to completely destroy it.
But yeah, it's this is something that people need to wake up to. Doom Nation, if you don't want to be what happened?
Doom Nation.
I know. If we don't want to be
an
an actual doomed nation, like, this is stuff we need to fight. And it's all like, people, please share this. We need different thinking type of people in our fan base. Like, we love our fans. We talk to our fans all the time. We love all the support we get from you guys. We love the content you send us. We love the comments. We like talking back to everybody, even if we're arguing with people. We need to expand this. More people need to open up their minds to this. You know what I mean? Because the funny thing about this national strategy is all the sheeple people are going to run wild with this, because they are fine with ratting out their neighbors and their families. And it's only a matter of time before it gets turned on them. Yeah. Before they have some ideology that turns them into a domestic terrorist.
Yeah, a larger goal of this whole thing also, we didn't even say this, but like, there is the part of the document which encourages people to rat to the police. If your family or your friends, you suspect them to be engaged in some sort of domestic terrorism activity. They're literally trying to instill a level of paranoia and fear amongst the population to be concerned about, like, oh my God, my neighbor might be a domestic terrorist because they're out in the backyard and they're shooting guns off or something.
My
like
neighbor
that.
has an American flag on a pickup truck.
Right. I better call the police.
Yeah.
And the police will go, okay, boss, you're right. And they'll come along and investigate the whole thing. Maybe take your guns away. It's all just they want people divided, because if people are divided, you can't work together to make a society that's better for everybody.
It's a nanny state.
Yes.
Because we are more of a threat if me and you and our families and my neighbor and my other neighbor and your neighbors and their families got together and worked together. We're more of a threat that way. That's why the guy that got arrested on January 6th, he's an Ohio militia. How many are there? 15 of them?
Right.
If we all work together, we're a bigger threat and scarier to them than if
And we're talking about like maybe voting blocks here. We're not going to plan any violent activities.
But anyway, they want us so divided that we would sell our own family members down the river.
Right.
They just want compliance, and they only want to weed out the people that aren't going to comply.
It's a tactic that's been used in totalitarian states since the existence. The Soviets used it, Hitler and the Nazis used it.
Like I said, once winter comes around and flu and cold season comes back and Fauci gets to lie again about COVID deaths, next year it's going to be the vaccinated versus the unvaccinated. Everything is going to come down on the shoulders of the unvaccinated people.
Yep. And this is a good part to segue into our last story, because this is a major, major receipt for us. Our good friend, Dr. Peter Daszak.
Who will be on next week.
I wish. Who tried to gab, this is, I'm sorry, I'm going to read the dailymail.co.uk article. Peter Daszak, who tried to gag the Wuhan lab leak theory, is fired from the UN Commission investigating COVID after he was exposed for organizing a letter denying the leak claim in the Lancet Medical Journal. So if you remember back to our episode about Fauci's emails, and the unfit statesman telling us about Daszak. Daszak is the guy who sent the funding to the Wuhan lab for the gain-of-function research, which is, we are speculating, could have possibly created coronavirus. And then Daszak was charged with investigating the lab that he sent the money to if they created the coronavirus. That guy has been fired now. That is a major receipt for the two doomed men and for the unfit statesman and for everybody who was involved in exposing this story. Obviously, Daszak was involved here and should have lost his job because he was trying to cover up his own wrongdoing or his own possible responsibility for the creation of the
negligence.
Negligence.
And on top of it, they originally rewarded him by leading the team to investigate this. I want you to investigate
yourself.
Yeah. Give me I know we've been trying not to curse. Give me a fucking break here. Give me a break here.
Yeah. I mean, look, he's been fired, right? Yeah. That's confirmation that he did some wrongdoing. You don't lose your job for no reason.
And wasn't he also the guy who sent the email to Fauci thanking him for not going along with the lab leak theory?
He said, thank you for discrediting the lab leak theory that's being pushed by Fox News. I can't wait to see you in person later on or whatever. Yeah. Yes, this guy is directly implicated in covering up the fact that COVID-19 most likely came from the lab.
Yep.
And they were trying to cover for him. There's the emails, the proof, and now he's lost his job. And you don't lose your job for no reason. This is a verified fucking receipt that some shady shit was going on.
To be honest though, like, being fired might be the best thing for him. Now he can just fall off the face of the earth, and
this is step one. Like I said,
I get it.
You got to first lose your job, and then the investigation has to come.
Then criminal charges, hopefully.
For the investigation, finds you did some wrongdoing, then the charges come. We don't know. Maybe it was all innocent. He didn't know. He didn't. Okay.
Then wildly negligent.
There's a difference between like negligence and then like evil overlord thing. I don't think he wanted to create a pandemic that would kill all these people in the world. It was negligence and then cover up of your steps, right? But let's get to that. He lost his job. Step one. This is a victory. This is a receipt for the truth and the reality of the situation.
Yeah, and like I was saying, I think everyone involved, people in Trump's administration, Fauci, every single person that was involved in what took place last year needs to be at least suspended. No more power, no more say in anything until we get to the bottom of this.
The fact that Fauci is on, MSNBC, I think, or NBC today, telling people, well, the Delta variant is so dangerous, and we're
Nobody's going to believe him
concerned.
anymore.
Why? How? I mean, there are people that still believe the guy.
Yeah, the
because,
weak sheeple that I was talking about earlier.
Boy, this guy can't be on the news anymore. We need someone that's, even if you completely believe everything Dr. Fauci says, you have to realize that, like, a lot
You're
of people.
a fool.
But if you completely believe him, you have to at least acknowledge the fact that a lot of people don't believe him. And those people are still potential carriers of this virus, right? So wouldn't it be beneficial to put somebody new in there? So maybe the people who don't believe Fauci will be like, okay, Fauci's gone. There's a new guy in there. I'll hear this new guy out, and maybe I'll start actually listening to what this other guy has to say. That would make some actual sense. But no, this thing is such a, like, my team versus your team that they don't even...
Fauci at this point is more of a political activist than he ever was a doctor.
He always was a political activist.
Yeah.
He never was, yes, he's a doctor, but his job is propaganda doctor. He's a political doctor.
Yep. It's
Dr. Truth Science.
He just like Congresswoman Omar can hide behind, oh, you're Islamophobic. He gets to hide behind, oh, you can't question the science.
Yeah.
Fauci, what people have a problem understanding is Fauci is not the science. Fauci's just the face of the science. Right. You know what I mean?
And the science is built upon questioning science.
Yes. So for him to go out there and say, when you attack the science, when you attack me, you're attacking the science. No, bro, we're just attacking your little 5'2" weird ass, bro. Like, we're attacking you. We're not attacking the science. Right. The reason we're attacking you is because things have come out that has led us to question your science, and you don't want to answer them.
Right.
Start answering stuff, and then maybe we'll stop attacking you. Yeah. Or maybe you deserve to be attacked more. Not inciting violence, but maybe...
Attacked in terms of, like, criticizing you.
You deserve to be criticized more then.
Yeah, the way I look at Fauci now is, let me make one final point here. Like when a football team has a coach, and that coach has been the coach for a long time, and that message that coach has ain't resonating with the team anymore. Like, the team ain't listening to him. They're losing all the games, and this guy is stale.
Yeah.
That's Fauci.
Yeah.
Right? We're losing here. We're losing all the games. No one's listening to the coach anymore. It's time to fire the fucking coach and get a new guy in there that has a fresh vision, a fresh message, and the team might respond to the new message. That is where we're at.
I agree with that. It really comes down to Fauci's clearly an establishment guy, and the establishment is holding on to their assets to push whatever agenda they're not even hiding it anymore.
No,
they're steamrolling that there's a fact that out there is two sets of rules for people. Yeah. If me and you drop the N-bomb, it's the end of our lives. Hunter Biden could scream it from...
Deal.
Hunter Biden can be up there with Kamala Harris and Omar under each arm dropping N-bombs left and right on CNN, and they'd give the guy a Pulitzer Prize.
Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, Nobel Peace Prize or something. Nobody's going to give a shit. It is so blatant and out there now. This is where we are at. Just the national security plan. You like Trump. You think the election was an audit. We'll arrest you. Oh, you like COVID? Cool. Then you still want to wear a mask? You're fine. Obey, obey, obey. This isn't a dictatorship. Yeah.
Yeah. Nothing's based in reality.
Nope.
Yep.
All emotion.
All right.
You got anything else?
That's it.
This was an emotional episode.
Yeah. Only thing else I got is Loki coming out tomorrow.
There we go.
We'll be doing a Doom review of that, so stay tuned.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this was another episode of the Two Doom Men podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. As always, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Just click the little button and subscribe. You can find us on all forms of social media. If you go to our Instagram account at @2DoomMen_podcast, go to the link in our bio for our link tree to find all of our social media accounts.
Linktree.com/2DoomMen.
There we go. And you can find us where all major podcasts are heard. Just search Two Doom Men. We're all over the place. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music. And as also we are adding now, please give us the 5-star ratings. Leave us the reviews on our audio clips.
Give us a rating you feel like giving us. We're not going to be like the establishment here and tell you what to do.
I'm coming up with a 32-page document stating, people, that if you do not leave us reviews, I will find ways to... I will hunt you down.
Okay. That's a direct call to violence right there.
I guess. Yeah, but it's to my own to our own fans And most of our fans are probably domestic terrorists anyway,
True.
so I'm
They're all
kind of
deplorables, so-
I'm kind of helping.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you. That was another episode. Adios.
Later.